even a few seconds or milliseconds, if you're off, you would render yourself in another reality. That's how important you want to be, say, in the present state. Space-time, if it tells you what time frame to, say, create your reality or offer the possible realities that you can create, right? Say that you're off by, like 50 years, okay? Say that, it's 2021, but you think that it was 50 years ago, okay? So according to your, say, programming, again, your clock time, just like your clock time on a computer is off. Things don't work on your computer, right? If the date is off. The same thing here, if your date is off, and again, by about 50 years. So that would be the 1970s for you. So although you would exist in this reality, you would not see anything that was created or developed beyond, say, 1970, because those realities are not there for you. So that's how important space-time is. You would not see any computers, you would not see, well, the internet, you would not, and even if you did, you wouldn't understand it, you wouldn't have the conceptuality to understand it and use it properly, okay? So again, it'd be very distorting. Obviously, nobody is off by 50 years, because you couldn't really exist, but that's just an extreme example. However, say that you were abused at some level. Say that you were abused as a child, or your parents got divorced, or they went bankrupt, or you went bankrupt, and so on. Literally, time stopped for you. So there's a hiccup on how you see time. So now, and you've seen people, right? They got divorced, or their loved one dies, and they just recreate that same year or that same moment over and over again. Although time, passes them by, their age gets older, but they just recreate that time frame. Right? Or they stay younger. You've seen people who are really, really young, right? They've usually had trauma back in the day that stopped time for them. So their physical, say, clock thinks that they're off center. They think it's an earlier time. So that's why space-time is so important for you, because again, it distorts time for them. That moment in time, or say that you've had a non-awakened near death, it distorts their clock and their realities as well. So they exist in another reality and another time frame. And then when that happens, well, again, time is distorted for them, and they just don't understand. They don't feel complete. They're not sure of themselves. If they're behind time, like they are, they're always wanting, again, things to happen, or again, there's so many different, say, possibilities on what could happen to you if you're out of sync. Most people are, say, out of sync within, say, a minute, even a few seconds or milliseconds. If you're off, you would render yourself in another reality. That's how important you want to be, say, in the present state. And this is where the further you go away from, say, the time that you should be rendering yourself, the closer you are to having issues of like depression, anxiety, and then the further you step away, because time is here, and the deeper and the further and further you think you are from time, real time, okay, time and space, there's a disconnect moment, because as you go, so say that you're here in time, and then you disconnect from time more and more. Divorce happens, anxiety happens, whatever it is, it pulls you away from time. And this is, the symptoms, again, depression, anxiety, and all those things that we as a society go, well, it's because of that reason, right? I got divorced, and now I'm depressed. You did get divorced, but the reason why you're depressed is because you just pulled yourself back out of time. Okay? And then you go further and further and further away, and this is mental instability. And then eventually, there's no connection between real time, where you're supposed to be, and then where you are. So you float into an abyss, and then that's where you have to, say, disconnect or commit suicide to, again, create no time for you. So as you become out of sync, the probabilities or possibilities that you have become out of sync as well. Okay? So say, for example, that again, something happened to you in your teens and you're stuck in your early days, right? Although you're 50 years old. Okay? And it happens quite a bit. It's not an extreme example. So you're 50 years old. The possibilities of a 50-year-old that you have, you cannot reach those because you think that you are stuck in your 20s. If that makes sense to you. So those possibilities, so your possibilities or the probabilities or the opportunities for you would be opportunities of a 20-year-old versus a 50-year-old, which is very incongruent. How do we get out of sync in space-time? Well, there's a million or a billion reasons why. The main reason why we sleep is because we get resynced into space-time. If you didn't sleep, and you've heard of studies, people who say have sleep deprivation, right? They start to pull away from their realities because, again, sleep is the one component that like resets you, it retimes you, or realigns you into, say, the present moment. That's why you, if you have, say, healthy sleep, you get refreshed and you get reset, and that's why it's a refreshing. And that's where you rejuvenate, because if you're not in the present moment, you won't feel rejuvenated. That's why you can sleep, or the act of sleeping, out of time, right? You wake up and you're unsettled. Sometimes people wake up and they're less rejuvenated or less, say, energized than before, because again, when they fall asleep, they have a tendency to, say, remove themselves rather than reconnect themselves in time. So that's why the major reason of sleep. And you've seen people, again, or I'm sure you've heard studies of people who, again, sleep deprivation, right? 2, 3, 4 days, they start hallucinating. They start doing all these things. They start thinking that there's somebody else, and so on. The reason for that is not only did they lose time, okay, because they need to reset, they don't have, say, the physical capacity to hold on to a reality. So what do? They transverse or experience different realities that are available to them. So that's why that happens. So how do we get out of time? Again, there's a million ways. Major time constraints is that, your mother was in severe stress when she was pregnant with you. That distorts you out of time and a reality, because now you pull into her reality, right? And then also out of time. There's an incident, any incident, a joyous experience. We'll say, if you've noticed joyous experience, most people want to hold on to those experiences, right? So again, every single moment you have an opportunity to stay in sync with time, which allows you to become abundant, to thrive. And then every, say, second you have an opportunity to stay out of sync. Most people choose to stay out of sync because they're, and again, whether it's a joyous experience or a tragic experience or, an identity experience, right? Many identity issues that people have, like fear or anxiety or not feeling good about themselves or feeling guilty or not feeling confident or deserving and all that. Those are space-time issues because you're in a reality, you're not in the present moment, because if you were, say, aware of yourself, you would feel good about yourself. But again, you're in another reality, which pulls you out of time and space more and more and more. So there's millions and millions of ways. Just living, basically, you pull out of time, and that's why, we need sleep to stick us back into time and space. Are there other ways to stay in the present moment? And again, by what I mean present moment, it's not mindfulness or some of the, fad terms that they use. This is literally how your body renders itself in space-time. So there's one of the best ways is spatial referencing, which I've created for you, which is literally like a GPS for your identity or your higher version of yourself, to create yourself. Okay, just like how you synchronize, your smartphone, right? Your GPS, Google Maps, or whatever that you might be using, right? It needs to synchronize. It needs to know exactly where you are. So spatial referencing is that same exact method. Okay, for you, it allows you, or it synchronizes you to allow yourself to understand where you create yourself. And that's why people who do spatial referencing and they do it, within, say, a few hours or in a couple of days, they actually feel much better than, say, taking medications or anything like that. So spatial referencing is noticing the objects around you. You've got 5 senses, so we'll just go through them really quick. Noticing objects, so the visual, spatial referencing. Notice objects around you, and then you notice a body part, or your complete body or part of your body. If you're new to spatial referencing, you'd want to pick a body part. So notice, say, the couch compared to where the tip of your nose is. And it sounds really funny at first, but just try it out. Okay? And you'll see that you're more focused within yourself. You're more, say, congruent. You're more relaxed just doing that. And you want to pick like 2-3 objects to take a look at, right? The couch, the fireplace is over there. My ear is over here. You always want to do it with the object first and then you, okay? Because if you do it the other way, you actually lose yourself into the object. So you can do it from scent, smells. Where is that smell coming from compared to, my chest? Where is that noise coming from compared to, where I am? And then also touch. Touch is very highly important as well. Touch what's supporting you. If you're standing on your feet or sitting down or laying down, again, notice the touch, or notice the air temperature on your skin through your clothes. All those details, again, pull you into where you are and then where you should be. And then the more you do it, the more in sync that you stay. And this is where, if you do it enough times, you actually need less sleep and you're good to go, because, again, that's what sleep is about. Even the taste in your mouth, it allows your, say, chemistry or chemicals to, again, align itself with what the body needs.